Waking up at 5 a.m. on race day, or what I call fight night. It's November 1st, 46 degrees outside, cold for the humid tropical environment of Florida that I live in. I've spent 8 weeks training for the unknown and the unpredictable of a 6.2-mile obstacle course race, running the entire time, uphill, downhill, over walls, under barbed wire, through the mud, carrying a small sandbag and cinder block in some parts, testing my relative strength by hanging, transitioning like monkey bars on some of the obstacles. Started out with a cold plunge, and was really a physical and mental test of how well you can handle discomfort, unpredictability, and the unknown. The mission, goal, and purpose here is to power through the course by sheer endurance and work capacity faster than I did last time. Obstacle course racing isn't really my sport. I'm not gifted with any exceptional athletic ability or relative strength skills. I'm not a runner. There's no secret edge. Just hard work and consistency always. Did I beat my time from last time? By 8 minutes. Now I'm about to talk about the race and recap the training, so let's get into it. On race day, I woke up before 5 a.m. and had to drive over 2 hours to the event. My start time was at 8:50 a.m., so I left the house by 6 a.m. I went in alone, just because my wife didn't want to drag the babies out there, especially in the cold 46-degree weather that morning. When I pulled up, I got out, I took my hoodie off, and I went shirtless. I wanted to run this barefoot, but that was against the rules, and my feet could get cut up pretty bad, so I wore shoes for this. I checked in, got my bib number and band to keep track of my time, and then I headed to the starting line. There were a lot of people starting in waves like there usually are at these events, taking off every 5 minutes, I believe. So to start the race off, started with a cold plunge. Sounds like that would suck, but when I got out, I was pretty pumped to start. It was like a rush and an endorphin release. Usually they put that towards the end, but I was surprised it was right out the gate like that. They held us at bay at the starting line for a few minutes after that, and then we took off. I started at a brisk pace on the run, and then kept a brisker pace the entire time. The obstacles were spread out, and only slowed down approaching the obstacles, which involved a lot of climbing over walls, pulling myself up, low crawling, under barbed wire, just a ton of basic athletic or functional movement, I guess. Then came the harder obstacles, which involved hanging with both in one arm, using momentum, some kipping, I believe, having to use your grip, upper body strength, and primate skills to get through, which I'm not that good at, really. There were a couple obstacles that involved pulling a heavy chain up and pulling a cinder block filled with concrete on the ground with a rope, and then carrying it back in one hand. There was also a loop where I had to carry and run with a 45-pound sandbag under barbed wire and over walls. Kind of reminded me of a 45-pound rucksack. In the midst of doing all that, you're also gassed the entire time when doing it, even breathing in cold air, which makes it even better. The terrain was uphill, downhill, through the sand, and on the side of a hill in some parts. Just a constant variation with that. The downhill stretches especially destroyed the quads. The final obstacle was running and jumping over a fire. And about the last 150 or so feet, I just pretty much all out sprinted to the finish line and fell to my knees. And just like that, it was over. So this is the third event I've done like this, and I will say none of these courses are ever the same. The obstacles usually are, but they do have something that is the same every time, and that is the distance of the 6.2 miles, and the courses are designed to throw you off and be unpredictable every time. The metric I focus on is getting through the gauntlet in as little time as possible, regardless of the obstacle and terrain arrangement. I always view this as a competition, only against myself every time. I don't care about being better than people, but how I stacked up against everyone else is that I was 14th out of 200,034 other people, both male and female, and then 4th place in my age group of males aged 30 to 34. As long as I beat my time from last race, I was successful in my book. There's only room for improvement from here, as always. As for body weight, I did this race at 196 pounds body weight. The first race I did, I was 200 pounds. And the second race I did, I was 190 pounds. At this point, I'm obviously more progressed, methodical, and advanced in my training. There's just more overall strength and endurance development at this point in my journey than there was the previous 2 times. And I think that played a big factor in moving faster and gritting it out at a heavier body weight than last time. So I trained for this for 8 weeks with the main components of heavy sandbags, rings, a kettlebell, a stationary bike, and running sprints. No distance running, just simply training low impact. I was training with the 300-pound Sandbag for 6 weeks and then cut back to the 225-pound bag the last 2 weeks before this event. The last 2 weeks involved a bit of experimentation with all three modalities that I train with. I ensured I was well rested before doing this as well. In a nutshell, my time and resources to train for this, stuff like this, were minimal. As I mentioned before, I didn't do any kind of distance running for this. I just trained as I normally would and then added sprints a few times and stationary bike work as the extras. Could there be a carryover to endurance running from lifting heavy sandbags and swinging a kettlebell? Or is it just kind of like a what the hell effect? In the heavy sandbag aspect, I think it's just the fact that sandbags are a utility tool that's excellent for building the best of both worlds in strength and cardio. I mean, anytime you do a set of box squats or a lap to chest with a heavy sandbag, I feel like it's building your cardiovascular strength and endurance, being as how I'm gassed and out of breath after every set with especially with like a 300-pound sandbag, on top of building muscle as well. And then the kettlebell being as low impact as it is, just giving the most on the cardio side with minimal wear on the body. Having these both in a training split really just builds an overall well-rounded, fit individual, I think, with less harshness on the body. Those are just my thoughts and speculations, though, about this. Let me know what you think in the comments. A few aspects I can't harp on enough about this are recovery and movement outside of training. In some ways, it's not all about how hard you go during your workouts. It's about how hard you recover and then just staying steady with just simple movement, basic movement, all of the other hours of the day, minus sleep, of course. And that's never optimal for a regular guy like me that gets up a couple times in the night to change diapers and make bottles. But it's all about finding that balance between intensity and recovery just based on your life and your routine. Early on in my journey, I made that mistake of going too hard too often, pretty much every day, kind of like CrossFit style of training, until I figured out I was just hitting a threshold I couldn't get over every day. Cutting back the training like that, finding that balance and just recovering just as serious as training has kept the progress moving forward, I believe. What would I do different next time training for something like this is that I would do it with a lighter 225-pound sandbag for an 8-week period and pretty much focus more on calisthenics. Instead of going heavy like I did this time, I still struggled and fell off the intricate obstacles that required skills like that, and I had to try those again a couple times. It all just comes with time and reality, I guess. Mental toughness, motivation, and discipline are terms that are thrown around a lot. This is where my mentality comes from, though. Honestly, before the race, I was thinking about how the cold weather and cold plunge was going to suck and all that like anybody else would. But I was pumped anyways. I was excited. Even more when I got out of the cold plunge. When I was running during the race, going through each obstacle, I just felt a sense of peacefulness and comfort I haven't felt in a long time. Through all that struggle, I ran through this event as a pushback from life trying to break me as well as my own demons and issues. And that's the opposition, and you can't let it win. These past few months in training for this event, life has just put me through the ringer, and it's a wonder I haven't had a mental breakdown. I could have let it overtake me, just stop training and just quit. But I deal with it and keep pounding. I guess that's the best thing to do in reality. You got to stay the course. We all got our struggles and issues. I'm no different than you. Nobody's alone in this. Nobody really talks about this stuff behind the training, but I guess I will sometimes. I enjoy and I find it fun to do stuff like this outside of just training. I see it as a test of my fitness and how well my training works for something just unpredictable like this. The more you do something, the more you learn about it and can improve results each time. To me, this is much more than just building muscle and being an athlete. It's about building yourself into a machine of strength endurance, someone that doesn't wear out or break easily, thrives in less than ideal circumstances, harsh environments, and has the resilience to prevail through the trials and tribulations of life. It's never easy, but it's always worth it. That's all I got. If you have anything to add, any questions, please leave it in the comments. Thanks for being here, and I'll see y'all in the next video.